Good morning and welcome to Player Development Complex Field 3 in Fort Myers, Florida, where the Seahawks of Salve, Virginia University will be the home team in Game 1. They'll be hosting the Fredonia State Blue Devils. The Blue Devils are playing their first game of the year. Opening day for the Blue Devils and game number 7 for the Seahawks. Salve, Regina comes into this morning's game with a 5-1 record. 10 a.m. start against Fredonia. Features Vincent Roth on the mound for the Seahawks. Catching is Dominic DeSano. Third base is Joe Haley. Shortstop is Dan Donahue. At second today is Hunter Sleeper. First baseman, senior Anthony Conti. In the outfield for the Seahawks, left fielder Tyler Colby, center fielder Ryan Kelly, and right fielder Nicholas Delano. Seahawks are all-time 3-0 against Fredonia State. In 2000, the Steve Sorella-led Seahawks faced Fredonia State here in Fort Myers, or Cape Coral, and had a 10-7 victory on March 21, 2000. A doubleheader against the Blue Devils in 2008 on March 20th. Salve won the opener 6-5, and then another one-run victory 4-3 in the second game on March 20th. Today is Thursday, March 13th, 2014, and we're underway at Player Development Complex in Fort Myers, Florida. There are 5 fields on this complex. Salve, Regina has Field 3. We've got bright sunshine, not a cloud in the sky. Yesterday, when we played, we just finished in time before a downpour. We got our equipment out of harm's way. Leading off for the Blue Devils is their second baseman, number 5, Connor Lorenzo. We've got doppelgangers out there for both teams because they're both wearing blue tops with white trimming and gray bottoms. Lorenzo's ball is in play to shortstop Dan Donahue. He guns over to Anthony Conti for the first out of this morning's game. 6-3 on the putout. Brings up the left fielder, Frontale. He bats left-handed against the left-handed throwing Vin Roth. Ciro Frontale is a sophomore from Syracuse, New York. Vin Roth brings in a 0 ERA to today's second start. In his first start, Sunday against the Coast Guard, he threw a complete game, 7 innings, 3-hit shutout against the Bears. Salve, Virginia won that game 4-0. Roth takes the comebacker, spins and turns, throws to Conti at first for the second out of the first inning. Brings up the designated hitter, number 44, Ricky Mendiola. He's from Williamsville, New York, 6'4" junior. He's also batting left-handed against Roth. Roth gets the start in Game 1 for the Seahawks against the Blue Devils. And another left-hander, Cole Treader, gets a start in Game 2. Salve, Regina will be facing a pair of right-handers from Fredonia State. Player Development Complex features a nice hitter's background out in center field. Straightaway center is 400 feet. Down the lines in left and right is 330 feet. Tyler Colby gets underneath the Mendiola fly ball out in left field. He puts it away. 3 up, 3 down for the Blue Devils in the top of the first. Salve, Regina comes to bat in the bottom of the first. Back here in the bottom of the first inning at Player Development Complex, field number 3, Salve, Regina baseball. Home team against similar colored Blue Devils of Fredonia State. Fredonia State is playing in its first game, and it's game 1 of a twin bill here at Player Development Complex in Fort Myers, Florida. Throwing the first pitch for the Blue Devils in 2014 is their junior from Schenectady, New York, Joe Corzin. First batter he'll face from the Seahawks is a sophomore outfielder, center fielder, Ryan Kelly from Waldwick, New Jersey. Kelly takes a cut at the first Corzin offering, 0-1 count. Kelly's majoring in business administration at Salve, Virginia University in Newport, Rhode Island. Breaking ball's over for strike 2. Our camera position allows us to see the corner infielders as long as they are a little bit away from their bag. Kelly fouls off the third offering from Corzin. Still an 0-2 count. Salve, Regina won 12-0 against St. Lawrence University yesterday. That game was at Terry Park. Strikeout swinging on Kelly. 1 out here in the bottom of the first inning. No score. Left-handed batter, shortstop Dan Donahue comes to the plate for the Seahawks. Donahue brings a .348 batting average into today's start. Corzen's first pitch is high. First ball thrown by Corzen. He got the Seahawk leadoff hitter Ryan Kelly going down on strikes, swinging. Another ball in the dirt. 2-0 count to Donahue. Very little crouch in Donahue stance. He gets a 3-0 count. And takes ball 4 inside. The batter is now senior outfielder playing left field, Tyler Colby. He brings a .381 batting average into this morning's start. The batter 10 versus the pitcher 20. Reminds me of my wedding anniversary, October 20th. Hi, Lynn. Donna Hughes on first base with a 1-out walk. Colby's at the plate. Throw to first is high. Donahue head first, safely into the bag. Salve Regina is an aggressive team on the base pass. Had a couple of stolen bases against the Saints of St. Lawrence University yesterday in a 12-0 win. Seahawks are 5-1 as we start today's action. Corzen throws away that ball. Unable to, he looks a little bit frustrated there. He may have a blister on his finger or something with a nail. He was not happy with that ball. Don't know why he couldn't have just handed it off to the catcher or the umpire. Just rolled it in disgust off to the right side. He meets with his head coach, Matt Pallison. Pallison is also the assistant SID at Fredonia State. The Blue Devils had difficulty coming down from the near Buffalo area. Their flight couldn't get out of Buffalo during the snowstorm, so they had to take a bus ride into Pittsburgh before flying down to Fort Myers. And this was all yesterday. They're here today, Thursday morning, for their first game of 2014. They'll have a total of 13 games in the Sunshine State, including 3 conference games versus Suniac rival Plattsburgh. Their infield is made up of senior team captains Kyle Kozlowski, Connor Lorenzo, and Matt Casilio. is getting some courtesy warm-up pitches after an injury check. He is the starting pitcher in the Blue Devils' first game of 2014. Catcher is number 9, Anthony Shero. At third base is number 17, Matt Casilio. Corson checks over at first base. That bag is manned by number 11, Kyle Kozlowski. Middle infielders include Connor Lorenzo at second and Eric Kroll at shortstop. Breaking ball in the dirt from Corson. Wild pitch gets Donahue to second base. Still just one out in the bottom of the first inning. Outfield, left field to right field for the Blue Devils. Number 15, Cero Frontale. Number 23 in center field, Bobby France. And number 34 in right field, Kenny Johnston. Three-0 count here to Colby. Last two pitches were balls after Corson had an injury check. Donahue distracts Corson at second base. Called strike, 3-1 to Colby. Salve is the home team. They're at bat right now. Both teams wearing similar uniforms. Ball 4 to Colby, first and second for Salve Regina. Here in the bottom of the first. Colby's at first, Donahue's at second. Brings up the catcher for the Seahawks, number 21, Dominic DeSano, senior captain from Central Falls, Rhode Island. Education and history major. DeSano has a .421 batting average starting this morning's action. He has runners on first and second. Both Donahue and Colby reached with walks after a strikeout to Kelly. We'll be bringing you two games today. First game here started at 10 a.m. Second game later against the Blue Devils should begin about 1 o'clock. Corson gets 2 strikes quickly on DeSano. 0-2 count. Both strikes have worked the outside part of the plate. Breaking ball stays inside, and DeSano fouls it out of play off to the left field side. That's the first ball from Corson to DeSano. 1-2 count. Colby leads off first base, Donahue off second base. Off-speed pitch gets Desano swinging. That's the second strikeout for Corzine here in the first inning. Both on swinging strikes. Third baseman Joe Haley now bats for the Seahawks. From North Kingstown, Rhode Island, he's the leading hitter on the Seahawks with a .471 batting average. Batting from the left side with 2 outs. First pitch outside. 1-0 count. Corzine gets the low pitch for a strike. 1-1 to Haley. He's got runners on first in Tyler Colby, and on second in Dan Donahue. Both reach via the walk against Corzine. Haley hits the third pitch from Corzine. Foul out of play on the right side. Outside. Haley works a full count with 2 outs here in the bottom of the first inning, no score. Fredonia State went down 1-2-3 in the top of the first against Vin Roth. And now Corzine trying to get out of a 2-on, 2-out situation. Donahue and Colby get a head start. Corzine gets his third strikeout of the inning. All 3 swinging for the Seahawks in their first inning. No runs and no hits, no errors. 2 left on base. We'll be back for the top of the second after a short break. Here in Fort Myers, Florida for Salve, Regina baseball action. The Seahawks are the home team, wearing their blue tops and gray bottoms. They're in the field right now because the visiting team, Fredonia State Blue Devils, are also wearing blue tops and gray bottoms. No score after 1 inning of play. Vin Roth starts his 2nd inning of work in his 2nd start of the season. He faces the right fielder for the Blue Devils, number 34, Kenny Johnston from Buffalo, New York. Home plate umpire requests all Salve, Virginia University personnel to get in their dugout. Roth gets a hit up the middle between Donahue and Sleeper. Leadoff hit here in the top of the 2nd inning, no score. Brings up the first baseman, number 11, Kyle Kozlowski. He's from Hopewell Junction, New York. A senior who also has some catching duties. Johnson's on first, gets a throw over from Roth. He's back standing. Ross's first pitch to Kozlowski is a strike on the corner. In the doubleheaders, they are both scheduled to go 7 innings. Kozlowski gets that hit to left center. It moves Johnson over to second base. First and second, no out here. Center fielder Bobby France now bats for the first time against Vin Roth. France is also a senior from Webster, New York. Bunt down by France. Conti picks it up and throws over to Sleeper covering first base. Sacrifice 3-4. Moves Kozlowski to second and Johnston to third with 1 out. Third baseman Matt Casilio from the same hometown as Bobby France, both seniors. Casilio bats from the left side. Casilio has runners at second and third with 1 out. Both Kozlowski and Johnston had singles to open up the inning, and they were moved along by Bobby France's sacrifice bunt to the right side. Vin Roth has worked 8 shutout innings thus far in 2014. Complete game 7-inning shutout against Coast Guard on Sunday, and a 1-2-3 inning against Fredonia State here today to start off the top of the first inning. We're in the top of the second inning, no score. 2 runners on base for Fredonia State. Third baseman at the plate, Castillo, has a 1-2 count. Ross' pitch is high for ball 2. 2-2 to Casilio. A bit chilly here in Fort Myers, Florida today, 60 degrees. spins, turns to get Kozlowski sleeping at second base as Sleeper applies the tag. Hunter Sleeper with the put out on the pickoff. 2 outs and a 2-2 count to Casilio. Johnson still at third base. Fouled off, stays alive. Gets the outside corner for strike 3 looking. No runs across for the Blue Devils in the top of the second. Let's bring you an interview with Tyler Colby of the Seahawks, a Seahawk outfielder. That took place just before the start of today's game. Offensively, Tyler, the Seahawks are once again swinging great bats. Talk about the team in general and you specifically at the plate.
Yeah, we're strong through 9, which is always awesome. Any lineup that Eric puts out is going to be, exciting. So, we put pressure on a lot of teams. The person in front of you and the person behind you is protected, and, pitchers are really going to have to try to get us out. A lot of bunting, a lot of stealing. We're all fast. So it's going to be really exciting to see what we do.
You're facing 2 right-handers today, starting pitching-wise from Fredonia State. Salve has 2 left-handers going. What's your approach when you're facing a right-hander?
It's really all the same anyways, just 2-pitch approach, and I'm trying to hit a line drive to the right side. So hopefully it gets in the gap and rolls a little bit and I get an extra base hit. But I'm just trying to hit the ball hard, swing hard.
Excellent. Good luck against the Blue Devils, Tyler.
All right, thanks.
So Vin Roth gets himself out of some trouble there in the top of the second inning. He picks off one of the base runners that had reached him for a hit in the inning, and then he strikes out the final batter, Casilio, with the pitch on the outside corner. Hunter Sleeper, who crept in on Kozlowski at second base and applied the tag on the pickoff, is a leadoff hitter here in the bottom of the second inning. No score here. Sleeper is an infielder from Arlington, Massachusetts. Corzin returns to the mound. He had an injury situation that was looked at on his pitching hand. A right-hander deals to the right-handed hitting Sleeper. Fouls off another pitch. Sleeper's batting .250 on the season. Making Corzin work with 3 fouls in this at-bat. Hunter with 3 hits and 12 at-bats. He's got 1 1 run scored. And is the 4th strikeout for Corzin. He's retired all of his 4 outs on strikes. That one's the first one looking. 3 outs in the bottom of the first inning for the Seahawks were all strikeouts swinging. Brings up the right fielder for the Seahawks. Senior from Reading, Massachusetts, business studies major, Nicholas Delano. Delano bats from the left side. He's batting .444 on the season. Four hits and 9 at-bats. 3 runs scored for the senior outfielder. One of his hits is a double. He had a double and an RBI in the 5-4 win against Coast Guard on Sunday. He scored 2 of the Seahawk 5 runs in that game. His other run scored came in a 10-5 win against Mitchell on Saturday. He works a 1-out walk. Heads to first base as the designated hitter for today. Ryan Sweener comes to the plate. Sweener from South Kingstown, Rhode Island. Bats from the right side. Batting .286 on the season. Sweener has 4 hits and 14 at-bats. He scored a run in Vin Ross last start, a 4-0 win against Coast Guard on Sunday. Sweener has hit safely in 4 straight games. Allison quickly comes out to check on Corzin. Back from Sweener, shakes up the camera a little bit, still in a good position. Salve, Regina had 9 hits to score 12 runs in Wednesday's win over St. Lawrence. 9 hits from 8 different players. Dominic Desano had the only multiple hit game. He had picked up 2 hits. He also had 2 RBI and 3 runs scored. I don't know if you heard the chant from the third base dugout, but they were saying no speed at first, no speed at first. Well, Nicholas Delano has stolen second for the Seahawks. Salve Regina has the first base dugout. And Fredonia State got here first and chose the third base dugout. Sweener singles to left field, right in front of the left fielder for Fredonia State. Ciro Frontale throws it in. Runners at the corners now for Salve Regina. Delano at third, Sweener at first. Nicholas Conti, the first baseman, comes to bat with a .417 batting average. No score here in the bottom of the second. Conti's bunt is down. Corzine comes home. Delano is tagged out. Fielder's choice grounder for Conti. 1-2 on the play. Sweener goes to second. That's 2 outs here for Ryan Kelly, the top of the order for the Seahawks. Kelly struck out swinging in his first at bat. He has runners on first and second with 2 outs. Conti at first, Sweener at second. Two outs here in the bottom of the second inning. Ryan Sweener delivered Salve, Regina's first hit of the game. He leads off second base. Anthony Conti leads off first base. First pitch to Kelly is ball high. We're bringing you this action from Fort Myers, the Player Development Complex, Field 3, on a sunny Thursday, March 13. Temperatures are expected to reach in the high 60s by midday and low 70s by 5 o'clock this afternoon. In Florida. I'm hearing light snow back in Rhode Island in mid-20s. Kelly spins out of the way of that offering from Corzine. Actually got a stare down from the catcher Shiro as he returned to the batter's box. Pitch right over the plate. Ball high to Kelly, loads the bases. With 2 outs here in the bottom of the second inning. Left-handed hitting Dan Donahue returns to the plate for the second time. He drew a first inning walk. And it was after his walk that Corzine needed to look at with something on his hand. Right-handed pitcher Corzine has struck out 4 of the 5 Seahawk outs, and he made a nice assist to his catcher on the fielder's choice grounder by Conti. So the catcher Shiro has all 5 putouts in the game for Fredonia State. Donahue fouls off the first pitch. He has the bases loaded here. Batting .348. That's a grounder to second base. Lorenzo throws over to first base to Kozlowski. Salve, Regina strands 3 in the bottom of the second inning. In that inning, no runs on 1 hit, no errors for Fredonia State, 3 left on base. We'll be back for the top of the third after this break. So the lefty Roth and the righty Corzin both pitched out of jams in their second innings of work. Roth had runners on second and third with one out. He picked off the runner on second and then got the final out on a strikeout looking. And then Corzin had the bases loaded in the Salve, Regina bottom of the second with two outs. He got a ground out to Dan Donahue. We're here in the top of the third inning. First pitch to the catcher Shiro is a strike swinging. Shiro is the 8th man in the batting order for the Blue Devils. Anthony Shiro is from Sanborn, New York, a junior. He swings at a wild pitch. It's strike three, but he reaches on the wild pitch. Second straight strikeout for Vin Roth, but this batter reaches base safely. No outs here in the top of the third inning for the Blue Devils. Their number 9 hitter, their shortstop, Eric Kroll, a junior from Syracuse, New York, now bats with a runner on base. Roth gets the strike. First pitch to Kroll. Shiro leads off first base. Conti covering. Foul out of play and into an adjacent field. Two strikes on Kroll, second batter of the top of the third inning for the Blue Devils. Vin Roth pitches from the stretch. Takes a look over. Sends the ball high to Kroll. 1-2 count. Outside and low to Kroll for 2-2. Haley at third for the Seahawks. Donahue at short. Hunter Sleeper at second and Conti at first. He holds on the runner. Anthony Shiro, the catcher who struck out but reached first on a wild pitch. Tyler Colby has the Sunfield in left field this morning's game. Kroll cannot check his swing. He goes down on strikes for the first out of the bottom of the third. Brings up the top of the order for the Blue Devils. There's second baseman Connor Lorenzo, a senior from Rochester, New York. First pitch strike to Lorenzo. Roth throws over to Conti. Keeping Shiro close to first base. Second pitch is a strike swinging to Lorenzo. He grounded to Donahue in the first inning. Roth had a 1-2-3 first inning. Worked out of trouble in the second, and now has 1 out and 1 on here in the top of the third inning. Facing the Blue Devils of Fredonia State in their first game of 2014. Salve Regina has a 5-1 record as we started this morning's action. Another check over at first. Shiro back safely, diving head first. Inside and in the dirt, blocked by Desano. No advance on Shiro. He stays at first with a 1 out. Full count to the leadoff hitter, Lorenzo. And on the hands, Lorenzo fouls it away. Center fielder Ryan Kelly shades Lorenzo to the right side. He's got additional help from Nicholas Delano on that side. Called strike 3 to Lorenzo for the second out of the top of the third inning. And that is actually Ross' 4th straight strikeout, 3rd strikeout of this inning. But he has a runner on first who got there on a wild pitch strikeout. He faces Frontale for the second time. Frontale bounced back to Roth in the first inning. The left fielder is the second batter in the order for the Blue Devils. This game got underway at 10 a.m. Game 2 will get underway approximately 1 p.m. Roth works Frontale away for a ball. 2-1 count on the left fielder. Strike on the outside corner. Roth looks to make his 4th strikeout of the inning if he's able to get Frontale on strikes. Pops it up, it is in play. Foul territory for Desano. He gloves at shoulder height for the final out of the top of the third inning. In foul territory. For the Blue Devils in their third inning, no runs on no hits, no errors, 1 left on base. No score here as we head to the bottom of the third inning. Back here for the bottom of the third inning at Fort Myers, Florida. Seahawks and Blue Devils are in a scoreless game. Left fielder Tyler Colby leads off for the Salve, Regina Seahawks. Here in the bottom of the third, both teams wearing blue tops, gray bottoms. Seahawks are the home team. Colby had a walk in his first at-bat. First pitch from Corzin is fouled out of play on the right side. With his walk in the first inning, Colby still is batting .381 on the season. Colby has hit safely in all but Monday's loss to Alvernia. He had 3 hits in the second game against Mitchell, 3 for 5. That was a 10-5 victory for the Seahawks. In yesterday's game against St. Lawrence, he had 1 hit, a double, with 2 runs batted in and 2 runs scored. He goes down swinging on the pitch from Corzin. 1 out here in the bottom of the third inning. Catcher Dominic DeSano now coming to the plate. DeSano was Corzin's second strikeout victim in the first inning. Corzin now has 5 strikeouts on the morning. This game began at 10 a.m. We're 53 minutes into it here in the bottom of the third inning. Scheduled to go 7 innings in the first game of a doubleheader with Fredonia State and Salve, Regina University. Breaking ball inside for a strike. So after a couple of postponements for Fredonia back home, they begin their 2014 season against the Seahawks of Salve, Regina University here in Fort Myers, Florida, part of the Gene Cusick Classic. The Blue Devils will also be in action at 10 a.m. tomorrow in a single game against Skidmore College. That game will be at Terry Park. Seahawks will also be at Terry Park, and they'll have a doubleheader against Swarthmore College beginning at 10 a.m. DeSano pulls that one fouled on the left field line into the Fredonia State bullpen area. One out, bottom of the third, no score here at Fort Myers, Florida Player Development Complex, Field 3. DeSano again ahead of the Corzin pitch. Fouled on the left field line. That one was on more of a line drive. Ball forward to DeSano. He takes first base with 1 out. Here in the bottom of the third of a scoreless game. Joe Haley comes to the plate. Haley was Corzen's third strikeout victim in the first inning. All three in the first were swinging. Swings through the first pitch from Corzen. 0-1 count with one out, one on. DeSano drew the one-out walk. He's at first base. Haley's batting .444. Corzen checks DeSano back to first. Haley went 1 for 4 in yesterday's 12-0 win over St. Lawrence. He had 2 runs scored. Rounds that to the right side. Second base covers. Flips to first. For the second out, DeSano moves to second. Lorenzo to Kozlowski on the play to retire Haley. Brings up the Seahawks second baseman, Hunter Sleeper. He has DeSano in scoring position. First pitch ball high. Corzen got Sleeper looking to lead off the bottom of the second inning. He's up to bat for the second time here in the bottom of the third inning. 2 outs. Breaking pitch, grounded it. Third baseman comes in to field it, bobbles it. E5. Sleeper safe at first on the third baseman's error. DeSano safe at third. Right fielder Nicholas Delano now has an opportunity to bring home the game's first run. Catch will hit Corzen. And Delano will visit head coach Eric Sorella just up the third base line. Sleeper's at first. He reached on a third baseman's error. And DeSano's on third. Moving around after his one-out walk. Sleeper holds at first. Freshman infielder still holds at first. Second pitch to Delano was a righty versus lefty matchup here in the bottom of the third inning. Seahawks have runners on first and third, 2 outs. Nicholas Delano at the plate. Corzen checks on Sleeper, who dives back safely. We're just over an hour into the broadcast and an hour into the game. We have no score here in the bottom of the third. Ball in the dirt, and Sleeper gets the second safely. Good read by the second baseman. Second and third now for Delano with 2 outs here in the bottom of the third. He has a 3-0 count. Strike 1 to the right fielder. Delano stands in. Sleeper on second, DeSano on third. Strike 2, full count to Delano. 2 outs. No score here in the bottom of the third. 2 on for Nicholas Delano, senior right fielder from Reading, Mass. Ball 4 loads the bases for Ryan Sweener. 2 outs, and the bases are loaded for the sophomore designated hitter, Ryan Sweener. Scoreless game here in the bottom of the third inning. Salve, Regina University, home team versus Fredonia State. Blue Devils are away and playing in their first game of 2014. First pitch is high to Sweener. 1-0 count. He has the bases loaded. Delano on first, Sleeper on second, Desano on third. 2 outs. Second pitch is over the plate for a strike, 1-1. Second straight inning, the Seahawks have loaded the bases. Sweener swings through the third pitch from Corzin. He's got a 1-2 count now. Sweener rips that. Corzin offering into left field. Brings home Desano for 1. And Sleeper stands up for 2 runs on the Ryan Sweener single to left field. 2-0. Salve, Regina leads here in the bottom of the third inning. Corzin's going to get a visit from his head coach, Matt Pallison. So Sleeper and Desano score on Ryan Sweener's 2-run single to left field. Nicholas Delano moves over to second base. Both runs against Corzin will be unearned. On the fielding error by the third baseman earlier, Corzin is now removed from the game in favor of number 4, Evan Carmelo. First batter he'll face will be the Seahawk first baseman, Anthony Conti. Conti is the 9th batter in the Seahawk lineup, and he'll be the 7th batter of this inning. Seahawks have scored twice in the inning and have a 2-0 lead now in the bottom of the third. New pitcher on for Fredonia State. The Blue Devils go to Evan Carmelo. He is from Fredonia, New York, a junior right-hander. And he'll work to Anthony Conti, who has runners on first and second, and Ryan Sweener, whose 2-run single plated the first runs of the game, and Nicholas Delano at second. Conti greets Carmelo's first offering and gets a fielder's choice ground out shortstop to second base. That retires the side here in the bottom of the third. Where the Seahawks score 2 runs on 1 hit, 1 error, and 2 left for the Seahawks. They take to the field here in the top of the 4th inning with a 2-0 lead. Welcome back to Fort Myers, Florida, the Player Development Complex, Field 3, Salve, Regina University baseball versus Fredonia State Blue Devils baseball. Seahawks just scored 2 runs in the bottom of the 3rd inning. They are the home team in Game 1. Ryan Sweeney delivered a 2-run, 2-out single. First batter of the top of the 4th inning is the designated hitter Mendiola. He pops up to first baseman Conti. 1 out here in the top of the 4th inning. Salve Regina has 2 runs on 2 hits, no errors. The Blue Devils have no runs on 2 hits, 1 error. Corzin allowed both runs to the Seahawks in 2 2/3 innings pitched. He gave up 2 hits, 2 runs, neither was earned. He walked 6 Seahawks, struck out 5 batters, threw 1 wild pitch. Vincent Roth for the Seahawks now has 3 1/3 innings pitched, 2 hits allowed. He struck out 4, no walks. He faces the right fielder Kenny Johnson with 1 out here in the 4th inning. Salve Regina's in the first base dugout. Fredonia State's in the third base dugout. Seahawks are the home team for Game 1. They will be the visitors for Game 2, but both teams will remain in their respective dugouts. Johnson goes down on strikes, swinging. 6th strikeout of the game for the Seahawk left-hander. First baseman Kozlowski now batting. Kozlowski had a single in the 2nd inning after a sacrifice bunt moved him and Mendiola. Johnson on the base pass to 2nd and 3rd. Roth picked off Kozlowski on a nice move to the second base bag. Nice. Beautiful day here in Fort Myers, Florida. We had some rain after yesterday's win over St. Lawrence. We were able to get all of our equipment back safely and dry it out. enabling us to bring you this action here on Thursday, March 13. Fouled back, right in front of our broadcast area. Strikeout swinging. Roth now has 7 Ks on the morning game, and he's through 4 innings of work. Salve, Regina will come to bat in the bottom of the 4th after this break. We are here in the bottom of the 4th inning where the Seahawks have the top of the order coming to the bat. First 3 hitters in the Seahawk lineup are Ryan Kelly, their center fielder, Dan Donahue, their shortstop, and Tyler Colby, their left fielder. Those 3 will all be facing Evan Carmelo for the first time. He came on in relief of the starter Corzin, who gave up 2 runs in the 3rd inning to the Seahawks. They have a 2-0 lead here in the bottom of the 4th. Shout out to the Salve Regina softball team. They had a 9 a.m. start up in Claremont, Florida against Bowdoin College, and then maybe underway in their 2nd game against St. Lawrence University. Seahawk baseball and softball teams shared 2 common opponents during the spring break schedule: Alvernia College and St. Lawrence University. Salve baseball had a 12-0 victory over the Saints of St. Lawrence in yesterday's single 9-inning game. Ryan Kelly stands in against Carmelo. Takes a strike call. Three and 2 count on Kelly. He sends that deep to left fielder. Backpedaling is the Fredonia State left fielder. He dives for it. It lands on the warning track. Kelly's in to 3rd with a triple. Cutoff throw gets beyond the shortstop, but backed up by the 2nd baseman. Leadoff triple here in the bottom of the 4th inning for Ryan Kelly. Now batting is the shortstop, Dan Donahue. Donahue has Kelly at 3rd, who led off with a triple to left field. called to Donahue. He watched the first couple of Carmelo offerings. Missed the plate. Donahue swings and hits up the middle. Base hit and an RBI brings in Ryan Kelly. For the game's third run. Now batting the left fielder is Tyler Colby. He has a walk and a strikeout this morning. Second time this morning he's had Dan Donahue on first base in front of him. Donahue just brought Ryan Kelly home with the game's third run. 3-0 lead for Salve, Regina. Flare out to right field by Colby. Donahue was running, had to stop. Watch the ball land in front of the right fielder. Gets into second safely, and then the errant throw allows both Colby and Donahue to move to second and third. Base hit for Colby. Second and third for Dominic DeSano. First pitch swinging through the left side. It's a run-scoring single for DeSano. Brings home Donahue and sends Colby to third base. 4-0 Seahawks. Joe Haley now batting. Facing Evan Carmelo. He sees Carmelo for the first time. Dominic DeSano on first. He's there with an RBI single. That plated Donahue, who also had singled in a run this inning. 4-0 Salve, Regina University. Bottom of the fourth. Salve, Regina versus Fredonia State, game one of a doubleheader in the Gene Cusick Classic. Ball outside to Haley. Ball low to Haley. He works a 3-0 count against Carmelo, the second Blue Devils pitcher of this morning's game. Carmelo's fourth pitch to Haley is in there for a strike, 3-1 count. No outs here in the bottom of the fourth inning. Haley has first and third in DeSano and Colby. DeSano runs on the pitch, steals second, and home with a stolen base and a run is Tyler Colby. As Haley takes strike two for a full count. Two stolen bases on the play. DeSano to second, and Colby across with the fifth run of the game, the third run of the inning. 5-0 Salve, Regina. And Joe Haley checks his swing for ball four. First and second now for the Seahawks. Still no outs in the bottom of the fourth inning. DeSano's on second. He's still there after a RBI single. 3 runs in the inning for the Seahawks. They lead 5-0, and Hunter Sleeper comes to bat. Sleeper gets a bunt down to the pitcher. Carmelo fields it, throws over to first for the out. Sacrifice bunt for Sleeper. Haley to second, Desano to third base. Brings up the senior right fielder, Nicholas Delano. Nicholas Delano now batting with Joe Haley at second base and Dominic Desano at third base. 1 out here in the bottom of the 4th inning. 5-0, Salve Regina leads Fredonia State. Pitch from Carmelo is high. Delano lays off it. Here's the pitch to Nicholas Delano. In there for a strike low. 2-1 count to the senior right fielder. He's batting for the 3rd time, has 2 walks in his previous at-bats. Fouls that offering away, 2-2 count. That foul ball reaches the pitcher's mound on an adjacent field. Delano has a 2-2 count. 1 out here in the bottom of the 4th. 2 runners on for Nicholas Delano. Base hit. Ground ball to the right side, gloved by the first baseman. Stays in the infield, but Delano reaches safely and brings home a run. RBI for Nicholas Delano. Brings up the 9th batter of the inning for the Seahawks, Ryan Sweener. He's at the plate in a 6-0 game here in the bottom of the 4th inning. He's got Delano at first, Haley at third. Still just 1 out here in the 4th inning. First pitch, Sweener swings through it. It's a battle of 4 against 4 in the uniform numbers. Sweener facing his doppelganger as they're wearing the identical uniforms, just different names on them. In the dirt for a ball. 1-1 count to Sweener. He has Delano on first and Haley on third base. Salve has scored 4 times this inning. Another ball in the dirt. Delano will take second base on the wild pitch. Sweener now has 2 runners in scoring position with 1 out here in the bottom of the 4th inning. He's facing Evan Carmelo, the second right-handed pitcher from the Blue Devils this morning. That ball is hit high to straightaway center field. Center fielder is shading the sun. Haley comes in with the sacrifice fly out from Ryan Sweener to center field. And Delano also moves along the base pass. He's at third base. Two outs here now. Brings up Anthony Conti. Conti has 2 Fieldish choice grounders in this game. He faces Carmelo for the second time. And Conti is the 9th Seahawk batter to reach the plate this inning. He has Nicholas Delano at third base with 2 outs here in the bottom of the 4th. Fouls it off to the left side. Out of play. Two balls, 2 strikes to Conti. Ball is high. Correction, now it's 2 balls, 2 strikes to Conti. With 2 outs here in the 4th inning, Salve Regina leads 7-0. Conti fouls that off to the left side. In between 2 fields. 2 balls, 2 strikes on Anthony Conti. 2 outs here in the bottom of the 4th inning. Nicholas Delano leads off third base and has to duck as Conti's foul ball just misses Delano on the base pass in foul territory. Anthony Conti batting with 2 outs here in the bottom of the 4th. 2 outs, 1 on. He works a full count against the Blue Devils junior pitcher from Fredonia, New York, Evan Carmelo. Conti checks his swing on the full count pitch, and he gets a 2-out walk to put runners at the corners. Salve has scored 5 runs in the 4th inning for a 7-0 lead over Fredonia State. And here's the player that started it all with a leadoff triple this inning, Ryan Kelly, up to bat for the 2nd time in the 4th inning. First pitch to Kelly, outside. Seven 7-0 lead here for the Seahawks in the 4th inning. 2-0 count to Ryan Kelly, now batting .273 on the season. He has Anthony Conti at first base and Conti's classmate Nicholas Delano at third base. Pitch over the plate for strike 1. 2-1 count to Kelly. 2 outs in the bottom of the 4th inning. 2 on. 7-0 Salve Regina leads. Conti's off with the pitch. Shero fakes the throw down. Conti's in safely with a stolen base. Ball was in the dirt. So Kelly now has a 3-1 count with 2 runners in scoring position and 2 outs here in the bottom of the 4th inning. Count reaches full on Kelly. Delano on third, Conti on second, Kelly at the plate with a full count. 2 outs here in the bottom of the 4th inning. Hopped up. Shero looking for a play on it, but it gets out of play. Just over the Blue Devils dugout on the third base side. So reset it again. 3-2 count on Ryan Kelly. He has Conti on second and Delano on third. 2 outs here in the bottom of the 4th inning. Salve, Regina leads 7-0. And now the bases are loaded once again for the Seahawks. Ryan Kelly works his 2nd walk of the morning. He's 1 for 2 with a triple. He is 1 for 1 this inning with that triple. And we'll have the bases loaded for a new pitcher for Fredonia State. Coming in from the left field bullpen. As soon as we can get a glimpse at his uniform number, we'll put it in as the Blue Devils' new pitcher. Pitching here on March 13th is number 13, Lester. Nate Lester is a senior from Albion, New York. Right-hander, 6'1". Comes from the side arm delivery, about 3/4. Salve, Regina has loaded the bases against the Blue Devils here in the 4th inning. Already scoring 5 times in the 4th for a 7-0 lead. Since the 6-3 loss to Alvernia on Monday, Salve, Regina has outscored its opponent 19-0 in 11 innings of play. Correction, 13 innings of play. A 9-inning, 12-0 win over St. Lawrence on Wednesday, and currently leading 7-0 against the Blue Devils of Fredonia State. Here in the bottom of the 4th inning. Dan Donahue now bats with the bases loaded here in the bottom of the 4th inning. First pitch swinging against Lester. He grounds it to second base. Lorenzo over to Kozlowski at first. Retires the side. For the Seahawks in the 4th inning, 5 runs on 5 hits, 1 error, 3 left on base. Salve, Regina leads 7-0 as we head to the top of the 5th inning. Salve, Regina now has a 7-0 lead with 5 in the 4th inning. We start the top of the 5th inning. Vincent Roth still on the mound for the Seahawks. New left fielder for Salve, Regina is number 1, Sal Kumela. He replaces Tyler Colby out in left field. First batter for the Blue Devils here in the top of the 5th inning is their center fielder, number 23, Bobby France. France sacrificed his first at bat. Conti to sleeper on the play. That came in the 2nd inning after leadoff hits by Johnston and Kozlowski. To the right side. Delano makes the play on it to retire France with a fly out to right field. One out here in the 5th for the third baseman, left-handed hitting Matt Casilio. Two hits on the morning for the Blue Devils. They both came back-to-back from Johnston and Kozlowski in the 2nd inning. Roth has not walked a batter. His previous outing against Coast Guard was a 3-hit shutout, which Salve won 4-0 on Sunday. Strikeout looking. Casillo goes down on strikes for the 2nd time this morning. Brings up the catcher, who was a 3rd inning strikeout victim but reached on a wild pitch. Anthony Sherrow from Sanborn, New York, faces Roth for the 2nd time. Fouled off the catcher's mask into the backstop. It is 65 degrees here in Fort Myers, Florida. We are in the top of the 5th inning. Salve, Regina had 2 runs in their 3rd at-bat. And then in the 4th inning, the Seahawks plated 5 runs for a 7-0 lead. Is the 3rd hit of the game for the Blue Devils. Single to center field by their catcher, Anthony Sherrow. He's on first base with 2 outs and brings up the shortstop, Eric Kroll. Kroll struck out swinging in the 3rd inning. can can say thank you, fence, on that foul ball. In the dirt, blocked by DeSano. Shero stays at first. He's on base for the second time today. Third inning strikeout, reach on the wild pitch. And now a fifth inning single to center field with 2 outs here. Strike called inside on Kroll. Roth delivers in the dirt. Blocked by DeSano, but runner heading down to second. He reaches. Wild pitch on Vin Roth. Shero down at second. Ball lifted by Kroll to right field. Delano underneath it with the glasses down and puts it away for the final out of the top of the 5th inning. Delano made 2 putouts in that frame, sandwiched around a strikeout for Roth. In the Blue Devil 5th inning, no runs on 1 hit, no errors, 1 left. We will be back for the Seahawk 5th inning after a short break.
Leadoff hitter for the Seahawks is their new left fielder, Salve. He replaced Colby in the field in the top of the 5th inning, and he faces Nate Lester, who's on for his first full inning of work. Lester is the 3rd Blue Devils pitcher of the morning. He retired Dan Donahue to get out of the 5-run 4th inning that the Seahawks put together. Lefty throwing, righty batting Seahawk. A rare combination. Hall of Famer Ricky Henderson is one of those. The diamond, get him on a 5-3 put out, first out of the inning in the bottom of the 5th.
Catcher Dominic Desano now at the plate.
Ryan Kelly tripled to lead off the bottom of the fourth inning. Reached the warning track. We've had a strong wind blowing in the entire game. That was well struck. The wind certainly favors the pitchers coming at their back. Breaking ball from Lester. Sano watches it for a ball. Sano had an RBI single in his last at-bat. He was the fourth batter of the fourth inning. Drove in Dan Donahue with his single. He gets his second walk of the morning. First walk that Lesser has allowed. First base runner that Lesser has allowed. Joey Haley now bats with Desano on first base with one out here in the bottom of the fifth inning. Salve Regina leads 7-0.
Strike inside to Haley. Temperature just moved up 1 degree to 66 degrees here in sunny Fort Myers, Florida. Supposed to reach a high of 73 later on today. Haley goes the other way, but it's going to land foul. Out of play. Salve Regina scored twice in the third inning and 5 times in the fourth inning for a 7-0 lead. Haley brings his hands up a couple of inches on the bat handle. He bats on the left side. He's got Dominic Desano on first base, who drew a 1-out walk. The junior third baseman fouls that off. Hunter Sleeper picks up the foul ball behind the backstop, flips it back to the umpire. Seven 7-0 Salve Regina leads Fredonia State. Haley's ball goes up the middle and through for a single to center. Hunter Sleeper comes to bat with 2 runners on. Sleeper is 0 for 3 in the game, but he has a run scored. His run came in the 2-run third inning. Outside, 2-0 count to Sleeper. The player development complex is on Edison Avenue. It is the former facility used by the Red Sox during their spring training games or workouts. Spring training games took place at City of Palms Field, also on Edison Avenue. The Boston Red Sox have since moved their spring training facility to JetBlue Park near the Fort Myers Airport. Sleeper bounces it to second base, flips to shortstop. Sleeper beats out the throw to first. The ball gets away from Kozlowski at first, allowing DeSano to score the 8th run for the Seahawks. No RBI on the play. And Sleeper will get to second base on the errant throw. So the run will be unearned against Lester. Fielder's choice for Sleeper. Nothing Seahawks with 2 outs here in the bottom of the 5th inning. Nicholas Delano at the plate. He faces Lester for the first time. He has Hunter Sleeper on second base. Delano gets under it. It's high on the left side. Shortstop has the glove up and has the ball in the glove for the final out of the 5th inning. For the Seahawks, 1 run on 1 hit, 1 error, 1 left on base. The Blue Devils will be coming to bat in the top of the 6th inning. We have 66 degrees here in sunny Fort Myers, Florida. Salve, Regina University plays Fredonia State at Player Development Complex. 57 degrees up in Claremont, Florida, where the Seahawks softball team plays. They had a 9 a.m. start against Bowdoin College and then an 11 a.m. start against St. Lawrence. Vincent Roth throws the first pitch strike to start the top of the 6th inning. He's facing the second baseman Lorenzo. Lorenzo is 0 for 2 in the leadoff spot for the Blue Devils. Led off the game with a grounder to Donahue at short, and Struck out looking. Roth has allowed 3 hits and has kept the Blue Devils off the scoreboard. Just as he kept Coast Guard off the scoreboard in his first start on Sunday. He is the reigning Commonwealth Coast Conference Pitcher of the Week. That Lorenzo batted ball goes by Lorenzo and by Donahue into left center for a single to lead off the top of the 6th inning. 4th hit of the game for the Blue Devils. Brings up their left fielder, Ciro Frontale. Frontale is 0 for 2. A grounder back to Roth. And then a foul pop to DeSano. Sal Camello gets the Frontale fly out in left field. First out of the top of the 6th inning. Lorenzo still at first base. Designated hitter Mendiola now at plate. Ricky Mendiola is from Williamsville, New York. Bats left. He's a junior on the Blue Devil squad. Lorenzo steals second without a throw. He's now in scoring position for Mendiola with 1 out here on the top of the 6th inning. Eight 8-0 game. Salve, Regina University leads Fredonia State. Vincent Roth is on the mound for the Seahawks, working his 6th inning of the morning. Game started at 10 a.m. We're now 2 hours in at noontime. Good spot. Seahawks scored twice in the 3rd, 5 times in the 4th, and once in the 5th for their 8-0 lead here. Lorenzo leads off second. Mendiola fouls it out of play on the 3rd base side. Haley and DeSano give chase. Mendiola has put the ball in the air twice. Fly out to left fielder Colby in the 1st. And then a pop out to Conti at first base. He gets Mendiola looking. 2 outs here. Roth now has 8 strikeouts in 5 2/3 innings. Kenny Johnson, the right fielder, now batting for the Blue Devils. He checks his swing. Appeal to the base path umpire. Doesn't get the strike call. Ball 1. Strike 1 to Johnston. He has a single and 2 trips to the plate. Struck out swinging his last at bat. Roth's pitch to Johnson is outside, 2-1. Donnie Boba and Vinny Truver are bringing the midday meal in for the Seahawks.
Take a bag right there. Take that. Thank you.
Myself included. Thank you, Donnie Boba. Roth now has a 2-2 count on Kenny Johnson, the Blue Devils right fielder. Hoping to strand Lorenzo at second to end this frame. In the dirt, Lorenzo steals second. Seahawks were not worried about the base runner. Correction, Lorenzo steals third. He had already stolen second. Johnson has a 3-2 count with 2 outs here in the top of the 6th inning. Lorenzo on third base. Ross delivery. Ball 4, the first walk of the morning, now afternoon for Roth. He has runners at first and third with 2 outs here in the top of the 6th. Roth gets a visit from Seahawk skipper Eric Sorella. Sorella is in his first full year as head coach. Associate coach last season for the Seahawks when they went 29-12. No runs across the board yet for the Blue Devils in 2014. Vincent Roth has thrown 5 2/3 shutout innings. He's trying to work his way out of a first and third situation with 2 outs here in the top of the 6th. He has the first baseman Kozlowski at the plate. Kozlowski is 1 for 2 for the Blue Devils with a 2nd inning single and a 4th inning strikeout. First pitch to Kozlowski is in there for a strike. Roth from the stretch. And the delivery. Inside. Over the glove of the jumping Joe Haley. Brings in the first run for the Blue Devils in 2014 and the first run against Vincent Roth in 2014. Slow down. 8-1 score for the Seahawks in the top of the 6th inning. Kozlowski delivers an RBI single to left field. Brings up the center fielder, Bobby France. First pitch to France in the dirt, blocked by DeSano. France is 0 for 2. Correction, 0 for 1. He had a sacrifice bunt in the 2nd. And then flew out to Delano in the 4th inning. Grounded to Donahue at shortstop. His strong throw over to Conti at first ends the inning. For the Blue Devils in the 6th inning, 1 run on 2 hits. No errors, 2 are left on base. Salve, Regina now has an 8-1 lead as it'll take its at-bats in the bottom of the 6th inning. Joey Tingyu finishes warm-ups as the 4th Blue Devils pitcher of the morning. Tingyu is a senior from South Dayton, New York, right-hander. First batter he'll face is a pinch hitter for the Seahawks, number 30, Tim Harris. Tim Harris pinch hits for Ryan Sweener in the designated hitter spot. First pitch swinging, 0-1 count to Harris.
Head right on it. Have fun.
Fouls it off. 0-2 count. We are 2 hours and 9 minutes into this contest. Salve Regina leads 8-1 here in the bottom of the 6th inning. It'll be a 7-inning game, unless we go to extras. Salve Regina leads Fredonia State 8-1. The Blue Devils scored their first run of 2014 in their last at-bat. RBI single by the first baseman Kozlowski. Tingyu's pitch to Harris catches the corner of the plate. Strikeout looking. First out of the 6th inning.
24.
Pinch hitting for Anthony Conti will be the left-handed hitting Mark Bolin. Conti played first base. Conti went 0 for 2 with a walk on the day. He now gives way to Mark Bolin, number 24. Bolin is from Orange, Connecticut, an education history major. Grounds that one up the middle. Second baseman gloves it behind the bag. Bolin beats it out at first. Infield single for Mark Bolin. Ryan Kelly steps to the plate for the 5th time this morning, now this afternoon. He's 1 for 2 with a triple and 2 base on balls. He has Mark Bolin at first. Kelly scored a run after his leadoff triple in the 4th inning. Kelly is hit by the pitch from Tingyu. First pitch. Twisted out of the way. Couldn't get out of the way enough. But it doesn't hurt. We'll have a pinch hitter for Dan Donahue here in the bottom of the 6th inning. Sean Becker from Richmond, Virginia. Pinch hitting for Dan Donahue. Hunter Sleeper got the start at second base today. Becker will most likely remain in the defensive lineup for the Seahawks. We now have runners on first and second for Becker, batting. Tingu's pitch is in the dirt. Wild pitch gets Kelly to second and Bolin to third. One out here in the bottom of the sixth inning. Salve Regina leads 8-1 against Fredonia State. The Seahawks are 5-1 at the start of today's game, and the Blue Devils are playing their first game of the season. Tingu's second pitch to Becker is outside, 2-0 count. Strike one to Becker, 2-1. He's got runners at second and third. Kelly on second, Bolin at third. One out here in the bottom of the sixth inning. Game one of the doubleheader, Salve Regina versus Fredonia State. Becker back to the pitcher. It's going to bring home a run. Mark Bolin scores. Tingu throws over to Kozlowski at first for the second out of the inning. RBI ground out for Becker. Kelly moves over to third base. Brings up the left fielder for the Seahawks, making his second plate appearance. From Ridgefield, New Jersey, Sal Kumela. Kumela's ball is lifted up to shallow center field. Coming in is Bobby France making the put out. The Seahawks get one run on one hit and no errors in the sixth inning. They left one on base. And Vincent Ross' work is done. He gives way to a new pitcher for the Seahawks, and we'll be back for the top of the seventh after a short break. Several changes for the Seahawks here to start off the top of the seventh inning. Blue Devils batting, trailing 8-1. Salve Regina has a new pitcher. Corey Blankmeyer replaces Vin Roth, who allowed one run on 5 hits in his 6 innings of work. Hunter Sleeper moves over to shortstop. Sean Becker, who batted for Dan Donahue, is now the new second baseman. Mark Bolin batted for Anthony Conti. He's the new first baseman. And the new catcher for the Seahawks is from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Matt Conroy, number 20. He also caught the final inning of yesterday's victory, 12-0 over St. Lawrence. Matt Casilio, the third baseman for the Blue Devils, leads off the top of the 7th. Fouls the pitch off Conroy's hand. Like Connor Gibbons yesterday in the 9th inning, Corey Blankmeyer is making his first pitching appearance for the Seahawks. And the first batter he faces goes down on strikes. Blankmeyer will now face Anthony Sherrow, the Blue Devils catcher. Sherrow has a single in 2 trips to the plate. He struck out swinging against Vincent Roth in the 3rd inning, but reached safely on a wild pitch. Ross line finishes that 6 innings pitched, 5 hits, 1 run. It was earned, a walk, and 8 strikeouts for the senior lefty. Shiro bats here with 1 out in the top of the 7th inning. Salve Regina leads 8-1. Foul pitch off Conroy's mask. Coach for the Seahawks, Eric Sorella, likes to use his pitchers in numerical order. Yesterday's starting pitcher, number 22, Kyle Phelan, was followed by number 23, Connor Gibbons. Today's starting pitcher, number 32, Vincent Roth, is now followed by number 31, Corey Blankmeyer. And Blankmeyer's pitch to Shiro hits him on the lower leg. He'll take first base with 1 out. To bring up the shortstop, Eric Kroll. Kroll is 1 for 2 on the morning. And he was also hit by a pitch by Vincent Roth. Correction, he's 0 for 2. That ball's lifted over to foul territory. Mark Bolin makes an attempt. Can't get a glove on it. That foul ball brought him over into the warning track area near the fence. Little tapper out in front of Conroy. He picks it up and throws to Bolin, covering at first base to retire Kroll for the 3rd time. early game. 2-3 on the play. Shiro over to second, but Blankmeyer now has 2 outs. And he faces the second baseman, Lorenzo. He is the leadoff hitter for the Blue Devils. Lorenzo scored the only Blue Devil run in the game. He led off the Blue Devil inning with a single and came around to score. And that came against Seahawks starter Vincent Roth, who otherwise was spectacular. 8 strikeouts for Roth. 1 strikeout for Blankmeyer. 9 Ks for the Seahawk pitchers in 6 2/3. Inside pitch to Lorenzo is called a strike. Fouled off, strike 2. Two count to Lorenzo with 2 outs here in the top of the 7th inning. Corey Blankmeyer getting ready to finish the game. Straight away to Kelly in center field. He makes a put out for the final play of the game. For the Devils in the 7th inning, no runs on no hits, no errors, 1 left on base. Seahawks will congratulate each other and then start preparations for Game 2 against the Blue Devils. Final score here in Game 1 is the Salve, Regina University Seahawks 8 and the Fredonia State Blue Devils 1. We'll be back for a wrap-up and a lead into Game 2 after this. Back here in Fort Myers, Florida to wrap up Game 1 of Salve, Regina University baseball versus Fredonia State. The Seahawks took Game 1 8-1. Corzin, the starting pitcher for Fredonia, takes the loss. He's 0-1. First game of the season for Fredonia State. They are now 0-1 overall. Salve, Regina improves to 6-1 overall with the 8-1 victory. Vincent Roth, the Seahawks starter, improves to 2-0 on the season. He threw 6 innings, gave up 5 hits, 1 run it was earned, threw 1 walk, struck out 8 Blue Devils batters. He was replaced by Corey Blankmeyer in the 7th inning. Blankmeyer allowed just no hits, no runs, no earned runs, no walks. He hit a batter, but struck out 1. And the Seahawk hitters put across 9 runs on 9 hits. Ryan Kelly had a triple, his 2nd of the season. Dan Donahue was 1 for 3 with an RBI. Pinch hitter Sean Becker was 0 for 1 with an RBI. Tyler Colby had 1 hit in 2 at-bats. Sal Camilla 0 for 2. Dom DeSano was 1 for 2 with an RBI and 3 runs scored. Joe Haley went 1 for 3 for the Seahawks. He scored a run. Hunter Sleeper also scored a run, 0 for 3 at the plate. Nicholas Delano went 1 for 2. He had an RBI. 2 for 2 at the plate for Ryan Sweener. He had 3 runs batted in. And Mark Bowen went 1 for 1 with 1 run scored. So the Seahawks took Game 1, 8-1 final here. They'll be throwing a lefty Cole Treader in Game 2 and facing a right-hander from the now home team Fredonia State in Game 2. Salve Regina wins Game 1 against Fredonia State 8-1, and we'll be back for Game 2 action. We'll end this broadcast and come back for a new broadcast with Game 2. Thanks for joining us on Game 1 with our 10 a.m. start. We'll see you just before 1 o'clock for Game 2 start. Take care, everybody.